So there's something we talked about before, and you were saying how when you were growing up and when your parents divorced, how that impacted your view on marriage
Mm-hmm.
and relationships.
Mm-hmm.
So, thinking about that, how how do you think that's gonna play out for you moving forward? Do you think like that's why you've kind of like it's not like you haven't been asked, to
Mm-hmm.
get married, you know,
Yes.
it's just, you've chosen not to do it. So do you think your experience growing up has something to do with that?
I think that, again, I never wanted to get married to get divorced,
Mm-hmm.
right? And when my mom and my stepdad got divorced, nobody reassured us that it wasn't our fault. Nobody said to us, it's not anything that the kids did, it's not anything that's going on. We never got an explanation.
Mm-hmm.
They were divorced. And she told me when I was graduating from high school, I will never forget that day. She looked at me, I graduated, and she said, honey, and now I'm getting divorced and moving out. It was my graduation day from high school.
Oh my.
I will never forget that. But there was never a reason. They never set me and my sisters down and said, this is why we're getting a divorce. Let's talk about this as a family. Let's discuss this. And I think that it's important for kids to understand that they're not the reason the divorce is happening. They're not the reason that mom and dad couldn't maintain their relationship. And let's be honest, it's better to dissolve a relationship when it's unhealthy and it's toxic in the home.
Right.
You don't want your kids to see you fighting. You don't want your kids listening to all the yelling and the cussing and and there's been times I've been guilty of that, right? Because when you get angry, things happen, right? But that's not a healthy environment for the kids. So it's better not to be in a loveless marriage and not to raise them like that, because it may take them a long time to get married because marriage may traumatize them.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a whole nother conversation. Honestly, I would love to get married at some point, but I wasn't comfortable with somebody coming in living with my daughters.
Right.
I wasn't comfortable with that. And that's a whole nother show. I wasn't comfortable with somebody coming in trying to tell me how to raise my daughters.
Right.
And no matter what the relationship would be, if I were to get married, is their dad's still going to be a part of our family. He's going to still be a part of our life because that's it. And it's not my kid's fault, the reason the relationship didn't make it.
Right.
It has nothing to do with them. It has everything to do with us.
I feel like it's a little bit different now too, where more families will sit down and have the conversation, or at least have an open door where the kids can ask questions.
Mm-hmm.
Like from my girls, it was like they were always welcome to ask questions. And then I decided if it was information that they could really understand,
Mm-hmm.
but it was really important for them to know that it wasn't because of them. And we both were very, we love you. We would explain that to them.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't change the fact that their family is splitting up. So, being able to still create a family environment, an atmosphere for the kids, even though you don't have like that nuclear family where the mom and the dad and the kids are in the same place.
Also, the thing that is so funny is people think, or parents think, their kids don't know what's happening.
Oh.
It's like, shh, let's keep
no.
it from the
They
kids.
know.
They don't know. They know when you stop liking each other. They know when you're mad. They know when you haven't had a good day. They know what parent is doing what. They can see. And they know who makes the most money. They know who doesn't. They hear a lot. Kids hear a lot. You could be on the phone with your girlfriend. You could be, out to dinner and you and your girlfriend are chatting 2 seats over. The kids hear that and they maintain that information. So I think it's healthy to talk to them about why you're getting divorced because they already know that. They're not as naive as we think.
I think too, like I've spoken to people like before I went through my divorce, and someone said to me one of the reasons that they would never, like, divorce was never an option, which is
Mm-hmm.
obviously when you go into a marriage, you want to be sure that divorce is not an option. And of course, there are exceptions to that. But this person said, I didn't want my kids to think that it's okay to quit.
Right.
And that hit me, but that hit me hard when I was told that, because I was like, I'm
Did I quit?
quitting?
No.
Like, I'm quitting?
Mm-hmm.
I'm quitting on my marriage. I'm quitting on my children. I'm quitting on my family, the thing that was like most important to me. And if you ask yourself that question and you can honestly say, no, I really gave all I could give. And this is a toxic space that I'm in now, and it's affecting my kids.
Even when it's not a marriage,
right?
You give all you can give in that relationship because you had a kid with this person.
Yeah.
So it's like, let me try.
Mm-hmm.
Let me try to fix this, because ultimately we all want, the white picket fence and the dog and the pets and the children and we want this great little love story that ends like with ha ha ha.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we want.
Yeah.
It doesn't always happen that way. And to fake that, I tell you this all the time. You can only be fake for so long.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody is going to know the real you. It's going to come out eventually. And to live in a home where there's no more love, no more friendship, no more any of that, that's not good for kids, because that's not teaching kids how to go have a healthy relationship themselves.
Right.
It's not.
It definitely opens the door for a lot of conversation with your children, so they do feel comfortable, being in a serious relationship, and I do think, we learn in all the lessons, and we learn what works for us and what we want. And we also learn what doesn't work for us and what we don't want. So I think we can look back and see that.
And I think that's me. I wouldn't be doing this show if I didn't want to be real with things, but I think that's me in relationships too. Because sometimes it's like, well, I mean, I could do it by myself. All right. I don't really want to change my life. But as you get older, you want your kids to see healthy, successful relationships and marriages, right? Because that's ultimately what you want for your kids. Maybe, or maybe not. I don't know.
I think just being able to walk alongside your kids as they're going through it, whatever it is, and being able to give them some direction, and just home being a soft place to land where they know they can come back and feel safe and not feel judged.
And therapy is an option for everybody.
Always.
When they're getting when you're going through a divorce. I think therapy is healthy for everybody. I think everybody needs to talk about it, because when I was younger, we weren't getting therapy. We probably needed therapy, but we weren't getting therapy. But I think it's healthy to, we want to fix our bodies on the outside. We want to make sure we are looking good and not growing old, which we are all going to grow old. And we want to go to the gym, but we don't want to take time to fix our mind. Like, sometimes you need to fix your mind. Sometimes I don't have the answers for my kids, so we need a therapist to help us with it. And sometimes my kids may tell me, Mom, maybe you should talk to a therapist about that, because it really does work. It helps. And it's healthy, and it's good for everybody to know that if you're going through a divorce, therapy is a good option for you.
Yeah,
it is.
It's good to have someone outside of the relationship, or outside of your sphere of influence, so to speak, where you can go and talk freely to someone. I think the bottom line is just for us as parents to understand that our children are watching what we do, and how we handle situations. And even, especially having teenagers now, even when we think they're not listening, they are.
Of course.
And just being able to, I always say it over and over again, but just create a space where your children feel like they can have an open conversation.
Yes, because I think for me, when my parents got divorced, I told you this before, I was devastated.
Yeah. I
was devastated. I probably wish I could have done some things differently, like had married their dad, one of their dads. I wish I could have done that, but it didn't happen that way. And that's not an excuse. Just because you don't live in the same city as your child after a divorce, just because you're not around the corner from your child after a divorce, or a breakup is not an excuse to not be a part of your child's life. It's not an excuse not to attend the basketball games or go to the plays or sit in on the parent teacher conference or make it to a doctor's appointment. Because I think that when kids see the breakup, when they get older and have a relationship, that kind of hinders them, because once the breakup hit, a parent was less and less around. They weren't at all the events. They weren't at all the plays. They weren't at all the things. And just think about it, if you're a kid and you guys had a divorce, you and your parents had a divorce, and your dad stopped coming around, or your mom stopped coming around, and she started missing all the things that you were into in high school or middle school. That's going to traumatize you. That's going to leave a mark on you forever, because you're going to think because they got divorced, then there was division. We've got to be able to work out everybody being in the same room together, co-parenting together, so it doesn't traumatize kids or make kids feel like, oh yeah, I'm not getting married because that's what happened with my parents.
Yeah.
I'm not going to have a relationship because look how my parents ended up. We don't want that.
Yeah.
I don't think we want that anymore.
And even though the parents are not still together, there's a way to create that space. And that's where the parents have to set their stuff aside and really focus on the children and letting them see, even though the parents are not together anymore, that there's still, in some sense, a union when it comes to them.
And extending an olive branch, like whatever that olive branch is. Like, it's like, you don't want to talk to me. You're upset with me. You're mad at me. Well, I'm going to text you today and say, hey, guess what? Gracie did amazing on her test today. You may not care, but you can't say I didn't tell you. Either you catch on or you don't. But one thing you can't redo is time.
Yep.
You can't redo the time. You can't get the time back.